What is going on, people? Welcome back to On The Ball and welcome back to another review show as we review all the Premier League action from this weekend, as we go through our predictions, see who got points and who didn't. If you're new around here, it's 5 points for a correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result, and for the star man, once you pick that man, you cannot pick them again for the rest of the season, and it's 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. Ben is at home today, but he's not missing any of the action. He has joined in, and look, it's a big weekend of football. A lot has happened this weekend, twists and turns in the title race, managers losing their jobs, so a lot to get through. The scores, as you can see on the top left hand corner there, 139 to me, 148 to Ben at the start of the weekend anyway. All right, so first up we go to the Emirates. Ben predicted 2-0 Arsenal, I predicted 3-0 Arsenal, and it finished 0-0 in what was quite an incredible result at the Emirates this weekend. Everyone expected a resounding victory for Arsenal, but Everton went there and kind of shithoused a draw. Kind of was you could call them a budget Arsenal, maybe, going to the Emirates there in a way. Look, it was, you have to say, not a great performance from Arsenal. I know they had a couple of chances from Odegaard, but it wasn't really like a pummeling. Like, Pickford wasn't making save after save. I think, especially at the end of the game, for that last half an hour, like, Everton were quite comfortable, I think, in that game.
Yeah, a lot of Arsenal fans complaining a lot after the game. I think Odegaard had a couple of chances. I think Jesus had a couple of chances after he came on as well. But yeah, I think Everton managed the game really well. I mean, Everton pretty much did absolutely nothing going up the other end. I think 2 shots, 0 shots on target. The game kind of went how you expected it to go. I should have just predicted my standard Arsenal draw. I would have come away with a point at least. But it wasn't to be this week. But Arsenal, massive cause for concern now, because in these last 2 weeks, Liverpool have dropped points and Arsenal have failed to capitalise on it. Much to our delight, but much to Arsenal's dismay, and a lot of Arsenal fans now questioning Arteta, questioning the project, questioning where they're going, because they're regressing at the moment.
I feel like relying on set pieces against a team like Everton, like I think Sean Dyche probably coming into this game, like probably doing his Bane impression thing. You just adopted the set pieces. I've lived them. I've lived these set pieces for my whole career. That's what he's probably thinking. So I think
Arsenal finally met their match.
Exactly, and Arsenal really, I mean, they had a couple. They didn't really look like scoring from set pieces, to be honest. I think Everton dealt with them pretty comfortably. I can remember one chance from Saka where he had a volley, which Pickford saved. Odegaard had a chance which inside, yeah, he should have done better. But some, curious substitutions from Arteta. Half an hour to go, taking off Odegaard when they need a goal, and bring on Wanyeri. A lot of criticism coming in for Arteta for his kind of selections. Also, a lot of curiosity about Raheem Sterling not being seen at all in recent weeks for Arsenal. People questioning why they bothered signing him. I saw one tweet from an Arsenal fan saying they're paying none of his wages and no transfer fee, and they still got robbed. So people are wondering what's going on with him. But yeah, look, it was a bit. Look, in the last couple of weeks, Liverpool didn't play against Everton last week, and then they dropped points, which we'll get into this week. And Arsenal have failed to capitalise on those two results, really, and leaves them 6 points behind, with Liverpool having a game in hand still. So a lot of Arsenal fans have already written their team off for the title race. It's clearly faltering at the moment, but as long as it's 6 points, I guess you can never really rule it out.
Yeah, look, there's a long way to go still. We're not even halfway through the season. So I don't think anyone should be ruled out the title race as of yet, but it's not looking good for Arsenal. Let's put it that way. It's not looking good. Like, you're looking at their forward line. Martinelli, since 2 years ago, the form he was on, he's fallen off a cliff. He doesn't seem to be anywhere near the standards that he was at about 2 years ago. Kai Havertz ain't the player that we saw last season, and a lot of Arsenal fans complaining about him. Martin Odegaard has come back, and he had that initial spurt, and I think the last couple of games he hasn't been up to scratch either. So you're looking at a forward line of pretty much only Bukayo Saka that's performing at the moment. So it's not good enough for Arsenal when you're looking at a title race. When you're looking at the teams that they're facing against, you've got Liverpool. Diego, we'll get into Liverpool in a minute, but they've got players coming off the bench scoring goals. They've got Luis Diaz, who's been in good form this season. They've got Mohamed Salah, who's the best player in the Premier League. You've got Chelsea, who've got a plethora of talent on and off the bench in terms of the forward options. So Arsenal are really falling behind in that sense.
Yeah, 100%. And when you're so reliant on set pieces, that you could come up with days like today, like on the weekend, where Everton, are very strong in that aspect. So not surprised that they struggled there. Surprised that they didn't create more. So very, very frustrating result for Arsenal. But look, no points for either of us in that one. So we move on to the next game. Liverpool against Fulham at Anfield. We both predicted the same result in 2-1 to Liverpool. Did finish 2-2 in what was a very, very interesting game at Anfield. And I would say, interestingly enough, probably, it finished 2-2, but Liverpool probably coming off that again, like I felt at St. James's, probably coming off that game with even more belief that they're going to go far in this title race after that result. Obviously, Fulham took a lead. Andreas Pereira in the early knockings of the game. And Fulham, look, to be fair to Fulham, drawn against Arsenal, drawn against Spurs recently at the Tottenham Stadium, now gone to Anfield and drawn as well. So they're clearly no mugs, and they're clearly a good team to play against. And took an early lead, and you're thinking, oh, this could be a hairy day for Liverpool. Then Robertson gets sent off, and you're thinking, okay, wow, this could really blow the title race wide open. But obviously, Liverpool just have this knack of never giving up. They got back in the game in the second half through Gakpo. Then, 15 minutes to go, or 20 minutes to go, Fulham retake the lead. With Liverpool having 10 men, you're thinking, wow, it's game over. And they came back again. And in that second half, astonishingly, with 10 men, Liverpool had 60% possession, created 1.6 XG, 12 shots to Fulham 6. And this is with 10 men. This is with one less man. And I thought it was a bit of a masterclass from Slot. And really, they should have won, actually. I was watching that game. And Fulham didn't really have much in that second half. I know they scored, but Liverpool were well on top. And it was like they were playing with an extra man, let alone a man less. It was incredible. And it wasn't a surprise to me when they equalised for the second time. And I know they'll drop points, but how they played with 10 men, especially when you compare it to like how Arsenal reacted to playing with 10 men in certain games, it's such a stark contrast, isn't it? And I think Liverpool come away with this game, albeit on the face of it, a draw at home to Fulham is not a good result. They probably come away with it with a lot of credit.
Yeah, look, I think both teams come away with a lot of credit this game. Fulham, because of the run they're on, like you mentioned, the three big draws in that sense. Liverpool, for that never say die attitude. They've got Diego Jota coming back now, who came on and scored a really good goal, by the way, to level it up with 4 minutes to go. So you're telling me that it's possible to go down to 10 men and still attack? Is that possible?
I
didn't know it was possible. I didn't know it was possible listening to Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, 100%. And Liverpool proved it, not just attack, but actually flourish. They didn't let it affect them. I know they drew, they didn't win, but they didn't let going a man down affect their performance level, and they created lots of chances. And especially at the end, in those last 5 minutes, they could have easily found a winner, and they were maybe unlucky not to. And on the face of it, look, it's 2 draws in a row for them. So you can say, 2 drop points. But I think the way they drew those games, for me, shows their intent to go and win this title, and shows their quality as well. I thought they came back so well against Newcastle, came back a few times and should have won that game. And if it wasn't for a last-minute howler, they would have won. And playing with 10 men the way they did against Fulham was very, very impressive. And I think Arne Slot is doing magnificently. I saw a bit of analysis on what he did when they went down to 10 men. He went for a 3-3-3 formation, kind of, and just took out a defender and, yes, caused some risk, but he adjusted a few things just to mean that basically he allowed Fulham to bypass the midfield to make sure they had numerical advantages up front and in the forward line. And it worked a treat. Fulham couldn't handle it. And I thought it was a bit of a tactical masterclass from Arne Slot, and just a bit unlucky that they couldn't win. But I think they were better with 10 men than they were with 11, which is mad in the game. And the fact that Arsenal drew as well.
They only had 11 men for 17 minutes.
Yeah, true, but they weren't very good for 17 minutes. But fair play to Liverpool, and obviously with Arsenal drawing keeps them on top on top of Arsenal anyway by 6 points. So definitely still advantage them in the title race. But obviously we'll move on to Chelsea a bit later, who closed the gap. But yeah, no points again, because it finished 2-2. Next up, we go to St. James's. It finished 4-0.
Wait a second. You know what's so impressive about Liverpool, by the way? I think it's their attacking talent that they have. Everyone is chipping in. Cody Gakpo gets a goal. Mohamed Salah gets an assist. Darwin Núñez gets an assist, and Diego Jota comes on and scores. I mean, that is exactly what I was talking about. That's what Arsenal don't have.
Yeah, they've got unbelievable options, and it's for Arsenal. Just seems at the moment, if it's not Saka, then no one's really doing it, and that's the difference between them and Liverpool. All right, so now we do go in St James's Park. It finished 4-0 to Newcastle. Ruud van Nistelrooy's unbeaten run does come to an end. I predicted 2-2. Ben predicted 3-1 to Newcastle, so Ben gets a point for that one. Yeah, look, resounding victory for Newcastle. I think, look, in all honesty, Leicester in their first 2 games did ride their luck, didn't they, against West Ham and against Brighton, and getting kind of 4 points out of those games was maybe a bit lucky. In fact, in his first 3 games in charge, apparently he's conceded Ruud over 90 shots, which is incredible. In a kind of 3 games, or 84 shots, I think it is, in 3 games, and obviously it came home to roost here. No, look, the stats speak for itself. 3.79 XG to Newcastle, 0.19 to Leicester. So it was an absolute battering on the day. And Isaac was clinical. Jacob Murphy getting a couple of goals as well. The only gripe Leicester will have is Bruno Guimaraes probably lucky to stay on the pitch, I would say, in that first half, when it was, I think it was 1-0. And he had a terrible challenge which got him booked, and he took a dive and the referee decided not to send him off for some reason, so probably a bit lucky with that one. But look, resounding victory for Newcastle, 4-0.
Yeah, it was an absolute battering, something I expected, although I did expect Leicester to make more of a fight of it under Ruud van Nistelrooy. But yeah, look, they've been lucky last couple of weeks. Newcastle obviously hit a bit of poor form, and I fully expected them to return to victory this weekend. And I think Leicester were not in the game for any stretch of the imagination. Newcastle had 5 big chances in the game, ended up scoring 4 goals. And they're back on track now. Jacob Murphy getting 2 goals, so he's back on form. And Alexander Isak carrying on his good form of recent weeks as well. So, important win for Newcastle, because if they wouldn't have won this game, I think questions might have started to be asked.
Yeah, that was their first win in 5 games. Only sees them only in 12th at the moment, but still they're level on points with Spurs, so they're on goal difference. But look, only 5 points off 4 for as many teams can say that. But for Leicester, obviously a bit of a rude awakening, should we say, for Ruud van Nistelrooy. If he didn't know what a big job he's got in his hands, he did there, and obviously that new manager bounce probably fades after that result. It's fair to say. All right, so 1 point for Ben. I get no points. Next up, we go to the Molineux, as Wolves took on Ipswich. It finished 2-1 to Ipswich. I predicted 1-0. Ben predicted 1-1. This was Gary O'Neill's last game for Wolves, and ended in a terrible, terrible defeat. He has now been sacked as manager of Wolves. I think they're about to appoint Pereira. I think his name is Victor Pereira. A Portuguese manager set to take the reins at Wolves. You saw Gary O'Neill looked defeated after this game, calling out the players for not defending properly at a set piece. Ait-Nouri, was it? No, Cunha and Ait-Nouri, wasn't it? Ait-Nouri got sent off after the full-time whistle. Cunha has now, just as of an hour ago, been charged by the FA for grabbing one of the Ipswich staff's faces after the game. It was all kind of a mess at the end there. But yeah, look, Ipswich scored in the last minute through a set piece, which is the 16th goal that Wolves have conceded from a set piece this season, which is double more than anyone else, which has maybe been Gary O'Neill's undoing. It's mad to think about how open at the back we think Southampton are, and Wolves have conceded 4 more goals than them, which goes to show how many goals they're conceding. Massive win for Ipswich, but yeah, right decision to sack O'Neill, do you think?
Look, it's not been going well this season, and where they are in the league, I think questions are always going to be asked. The results that they've had, conceding 4 here, 4 there, 4 everywhere, it seems at the moment for Wolves. But it wasn't so long ago, 3 weeks ago or something, they were winning 4-1 away at Fulham, at Craven Cottage, and you're thinking, wow, Gary O'Neill might be turning it around here. But then since then, it's just gone from bad to worse to worse to worse. And this one, losing at home to Ipswich, I thought Wolves were rallying really well in the latter stages of the game and were actually going on for a winner, and then they got sucker punched right at the end with that goal from Taylor. I was fuming when that goal went in, because I was like, yes, 5 points had come in my way. I said 1-1, Cunha 72 minutes, but it wasn't to be. And I think what done it for him more than that this actual result maybe might have been the scenes at the end, because those were ugly scenes, man. Those were really ugly scenes. I don't even know what kicked it off, but all players were fighting, staff were fighting, everyone was in the midst of it, and it just seemed like a really unhappy, toxic place. And I think when that starts to happen, I think the manager's always going to be the one to go.
And that was the second week in a row it's happened, because last week it happened with Mario Lemina as well, and he actually got stripped of the captaincy midweek because of how he acted after the game. And now we saw similar scenes. Yeah, Aït-Nouri getting sent off after the full-time whistle. So Gary Neal, look, I thought obviously last season he did really well to keep them in the Premier League, but this season just hasn't gone well for him. And look, I guess I feel for Wolves fans, and I feel for Gary Neal a bit, because every year they seem to lose a big player, don't they? Their squad keeps getting pillared, and it's not like they're a Brighton where they seem to reinvest it smartly when they get a big sale. They seem to kind of have to use it on a budget, get loan deals, get very, very cheap signings, and their scouting network clearly isn't as good as Brighton's. And obviously Mateus Cunha has, he's been a one-man mission to try and keep them up, it seems, at times this season, and he tried his best in this one, but he's probably going to be out the door sooner rather than later, isn't he, the way he's playing? So it's rough times for Wolves. Do you think they're going down, or do you reckon they'll stay up?
9 points, Leicester on 17 from 14 points, so it is a bit of a significant gap, but I do think they've got enough quality in there to go on a run. When you're looking at Cunha and Strand Larsen compared to the attacking options that maybe Ipswich, Southampton, Leicester, even Everton to a certain extent have, I do think it's better. So I think they've got enough there. Aït-Nouri is a really good player. I think they've got some really good talent there at Wolves. So if they get the right manager in, I do predict that they could make a surge to get to safety. But they are a bit off it, so they need to act fast, and they need to get on a run really quickly. But they do have enough talent there to stay up for sure.
I kind of feel like at the moment it's like between that bottom four in terms of relegation. I don't know. I reckon everyone else might steer clear of it. Maybe with I know Everton just got a really good draw, but they've still got some very tough games coming up. So if they continue to pick up points in these games like they did against Arsenal, like in a point here and a point there, then I think they'll be all right. If they go on a string of losses, they might get dragged back into it. But I've got a feeling it might be just those bottom four that's in a fight, and then everyone else might be clear of it.
Everton are only 3 points clear of the drop.
I know, but from what I think Sean Dyche will get him away from it, won't he? I know they're there. I just think, in a few months' time, I think we're going to be seeing just a bottom four there, I reckon. That's why I'm predicting, and it will just be interesting to see if it could very well be the second year in a row that all three promoted teams go down. All right, but look, that was 1 point for me, no points for Ben. Next up, we go to the City Ground. Nottingham Forest played Aston Villa. We both predicted 2-2. It finished 2-1 to Forest, and it was wasn't a great game of football, which really exploded into life in the last half an hour. John Duran giving Villa the lead with a really good header. And it looked like they were going to see it out for a really credible win away at Nottingham Forest in a really tough ground, without really playing that well, I thought, Aston Villa, to be honest. But a sucker punch from Nottingham Forest right at the end. A quick 1-2, Milenkovic from a corner, and a Langer in the 93rd minute with an unbelievable turnaround, giving Nottingham Forest the win here. And they just go from strength to strength, going into the top four, which is unbelievable heights for Nuno and Nottingham Forest after 16 games. They're in their wildest dreams. They never expected to be that high, I think, at the beginning of the season. I think it's one of those games where it was a very, very tight game, and they just turned it around right at the end. I have to say, they did end the game well, because they did have a goal ruled out from VAR right just before they equalised as well. So they were piling on the pressure for us.
We know, mate. We know.
Yeah, Chris Wood with his goal being ruled out. But yeah, unbelievable turnaround from Nottingham Forest in the Midlands derby there.
Yeah, I mean, for 60 minutes, this game was really poor. But I think Nottingham Forest deserved it. They created more chances in the game. They looked more threatening than Aston Villa. And yeah, I think there is a bit of worrying signs for Aston Villa, because if you take like their last 10 games or 7 games or whatever it may be, the form is really bad. They seem to turn it around a bit of recent weeks, but yeah, losing again in a big game against Forest when Forest is sitting above you, when they are what the so-called lesser team. Villa got to be doing better, and they need to be performing better in games. And John Duran is almost so much he can do by himself. Pretty much, he's not getting much help from his teammates. So disappointing from Aston Villa, but massive credit to Nottingham Forest and Nuno Espirito Santo. And Wolves must be reaping what they sow a little bit, because ever since they've sacked Nuno, they've just gone down and down and down.
Yeah, absolutely. And look what Nuno's doing at the moment. Incredible job. Yeah, that's what I was saying about Aston Villa before. I was like, apart from Watkins and Duran, obviously two good striker options, I just don't see where the goals are coming from. There's just not enough goals in that team, and I think that's at the moment what's holding them back. I think they're very, very reliant on their strikers getting goals, which is obviously you need your strikers to score, but you also need your midfielders to chip in and a few more, and wingers as well. Their wingers are just not doing enough at all. They only really have Leon Bailey, who's a shadow of of last season. Philogene come in, who hasn't really done it. They play the likes of Ramsey and McGinn out wide a lot, and they're not really guys who you can rely on to get regular goal contributions too much. So Villa are really struggling, I think, and they're in seventh, but they have a goal difference of -1 after 7 games, 25 goals conceded, which which is quite a high amount for a team. You expect them to be a bit well organised. But yeah, Nottingham Forest, incredible. Another brilliant win for them, which makes it 3 wins in their last 4 games. For a long part of that game, it looked like they were going to lose, but they did turn it around late on. So brilliant. I still think... not to say the bubble will burst, because I still think if they finish top 10, that's a brilliant result for them. But I don't see them sustaining a top 4 challenge. I think they'll drop off. But if they challenge late in the season for a European place, that would still be an incredible season for them. So, unbelievable how they're doing.
They're putting themselves in a really good way for the second half of the season. They really are. Sure. So. Look, everyone coming into the season saying they were going to be in a relegation scrap. Look at them now.
Exactly. So that would have been the goal, I think, beginning of the season, just stay clear of relegation, and they're doing that and then some. All right, so next up, we go to the Amex Stadium. Brighton played Crystal Palace. I went for 1-1. Ben went for 2-1 to Brighton, and it did finish 3-1 to Palace. And Palace now... with that win, that's 1 defeat in their last 9. They've won 2 of their last 3 as well. Really starting to turn their form around and starting to get results on the board. Obviously, a damaging defeat for Brighton in that game. Actually, Brighton, no wins in 4 now. 2 losses in their last 3, and a really disappointing performance here. And actually, I think Palace just did a really good job on Brighton here. I thought Lacroix, Guehi and Chalobah are unbelievable. I thought they absolutely dominated in that kind of defensive third. And I had the feeling that they would struggle in this game, Brighton, to break down a very stubborn, well-organised Palace team. And the difference for Palace in this game than maybe has been in other games is Ismaila Sarr and Eze and Mateta were really clicking in this game, and obviously with the space afforded to them by Palace, rather than in other games where Sarr has really not been on it in a lot of games this season and hasn't played well, and Eze's been a bit out of sorts. So that was a key difference for Crystal Palace in this game. And look, I think Glasner was under a lot of pressure in the beginning of the season, and at the moment they're still only 4 points clear of the relegation. So as long as that's the case, the pressure will still be a bit on there. But 1 defeat in the last 9, I think they're going to start to climb the table now.
Absolutely. I don't think they're in danger of going down, in my opinion. I think they've got so much talent in that squad. Ismaila Sarr putting his best performance in a Palace shirt on the weekend. I thought he was electric. 2 assists and a goal, or was it 2 goals and an assist?
2 goals.
2 goals and an assist. And the last one as well, the way he gets in front of his defender and heads it on and then goes and finishes, I thought it was brilliant. The turn of pace that he has is absolutely brilliant as well. But I was really disappointed with Brighton, particularly in the first half. The game was pretty much done at half time because Brighton come out with really extra energy in that second half, and they were battering Crystal Palace. They just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. And maybe if 1 goal goes in early on in that second half, you never know what could have happened. But they just couldn't do it. But credit to Palace in the big derby. Their fans were absolutely elated. At away end limbs were flying absolutely everywhere. So massive credit to Crystal Palace for going away to Brighton and winning the game. But yeah, troubling signs for Brighton. But yeah, I mean, coming into this season, they probably would have taken something like a Conference League spot or something like that, and I still think they're in contention for a European spot.
Yeah, when it comes to Palace, I always felt like they were in a bit of a false position at the beginning of the season. I think they do have a good first 11. They've got, I think Glasner's a good manager, and I think he's going to get it right for them. For Brighton, though, against the bottom 5 this season, no wins at all. Against the bottom, they haven't beaten any team in the bottom 5. They drew with Southampton, they drew with Ipswich, drew with Leicester, lost to Palace, and I think Wolves, Everton as well, they drew. So they haven't, they've really struggled against teams in the bottom 5 this season, which is quite interesting considering all the attacking talent they have. But it's something they've really struggled against.
But they are making points up in other areas. They beat Man City, they drew with Arsenal, they beat Spurs. They're beating top teams as well. So it kind of is evening itself out, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying it's quite interesting. They haven't beaten any teams in the bottom 5. And if they could do that, how much higher they would be in the table, and that's what's letting them down at the moment. Teams are playing against the lower teams. But anyway, great win for Palace. So still 140 to 149. We go to the Manchester derby, which finished 2-1 to Man United. Incredibly, I went for 1-1, and Ben went for 2-2. So right in the middle, as per usual when we do these kind of predictions. I thought I was getting 5 points right at the end. Bruno Fernandes in the 87th minute equalising for United. I was like, I'm coming in for 5 points here. But Amad Diallo breaking my heart with that goal right at the end. But what a win for Man United. It was a really poor game, to be honest. I was watching it. First half was drab and dreary. Neither team really looked like confident enough to take the game to one another, and I think both teams really struggled to impose themselves. I thought the City goal they got right at the end of the half was a massive slice of luck, because De Bruyne's cross just takes a massive deflection and it falls right into Gvardiol's path and they score. But to be fair to Man United, in the second half, I would say more in the last 20 minutes or so, they did give it a real good go. And, Amad had a chance, which Ederson saved. Bruno had a 1-on-1, which he chipped the keeper and it went wide. And it looked like, they were maybe going to get back in the game, but the way they did was complete self-destruction from Man City, I feel. The penalty was Núñez doing his best Basuma impression, giving the ball away straight to Amad, and then chasing his own mistake and then giving the penalty away. Literally self-destruction from Núñez in that moment. Nothing to do with what United were doing, just Núñez self-destructed. And then the goal right at the end, the brilliant defence splitting pass, but Amad gets in between the centre-backs. And it looked, to be fair to Amad, he's a brilliant piece of skill from him to lob the keeper and then finish it on the volley. Does really well, but I have to say, the defence got split wide open. I thought it was terrible defending to not get the ball ahead of Amad there. And I thought, Gvardiol on the line, what are you doing, trying to back heel it away when he could have controlled that. He could have side-footed it away and cleared the ball, but he decides to go ahead of the ball to try and back-heel it and completely misses it when it wasn't even the cleanest finish from Amad. I know he gets on target, but that could have been stopped, and that was a major error from Gvardiol, in my opinion. So United, brilliant win for them. To win a Manchester derby in that way must be a brilliant feeling. But having watched the game, still not. I don't think it was anything special when it comes to performance-wise.
Yeah, look, Man City are just dropping like a ton of bricks at the moment. They really are. Yeah. They can't seem to buy a win after 2 years without losing at home. They've now lost 2 in the space of a couple of weeks to Tottenham and now to Manchester United, 2 teams who are sitting in, got to say, mid-table. We're not having the greatest season. So really poor from Man City. I think, this Manchester derby, Manchester City against Manchester United, is one of the most overhyped derbies in the Premier League. Seriously, every time there's so much made out of it before the game, and more times than not, it's more disappointing than exciting, this game. And I think this one was no different. It was a drab affair, 2 teams not really going at each other, no real big chance, not many big chances in the game. Look, Man U got over the line, and credit to them. It must have been amazing for their fans to be in the away at Man City and to score 2 late goals. But it wasn't a great game of football. Let's be real. It really wasn't. But yeah, credit to Man U for getting over the line. And I think Amad Diallo is a real player. That's like, we saw him a bit towards the end of last season, in the quarterfinal against Liverpool, I think it was. And I think he's been their best player this season by a landslide.
Yeah, he's been brilliant, hasn't he? And a brilliant performance from him in this game. He was clearly man of the match. But yeah, I kind of feel like this game was more about City being terrible than Man United being good. And but fair play to Man United for getting over the line. But yeah, City, I thought like City lost to us 4-0 a few weeks ago. And I thought they were even worse in this game than they were in the game that they lost to us 4-0. I thought they were much better in that game, which is mad to think about. So look, City had a chance to really get themselves back in that title race in this game, and they faltered, and falling further. In fact, they fell further behind. Now they are now 9 points behind with Liverpool having a game in hand as well. So that gap seems to be getting bigger at the moment for Man City. All right, next up, a team that definitely put themselves squarely in the title race this weekend, Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. They won 2-1 at home to Brentford. We both won 3-1, so we both get a point. Brilliant win for them. Obviously, going into this game knowing that Arsenal and Liverpool and City have all dropped points, they knew that if they won, they go 2 points behind Liverpool, albeit Liverpool have a game in hand, and they did their job. I thought first half they were on top, and they deservedly took the lead right at the stroke half time. Cucurella with a brilliant header. And then second half, they kind of faltered a bit, and I think Brentford really got back in the game. Sanchez had to make a brilliant save from, I think it was Norgard, and then Carvalho hits the bar from a gilt-edged opportunity in the 6-yard box, and you're thinking, wow, Brentford real piling on the pressure, and maybe they'll equalise. On the breakaway, though, Chelsea did steal it with a 2-0, brilliant goal from Nicholas Jackson, and that goal was very much needed at the time because Brentford were piling on the pressure, but Brentford did make it uncomfortable a bit late on with a goal from Brian Mbeumo to get Brentford back in the game, but it was a bit too little too late for them. So Chelsea, brilliant win. 2 points now behind Liverpool, and Chelsea players, fans and manager are all denying it, but everyone else seems to be saying they're in title race.
Yeah, look, like I said to you last week, I don't think there is a title race at this moment in time to talk about. I think the title race really starts at March when you see where everyone's really at. So I think when you're talking about who's in it, who's not, I mean, they're clearly in the thick of it because they're only 2 points behind it. But do they have a realistic chance of winning the title? I don't know. I mean, we'll know in March. But they're definitely having a good season so far. That's for sure. They seem to be getting a lot of points on the board. They're keeping themselves relevant. The way that they play their football, attacking football, I've been really impressed with them in recent weeks. And yeah, I thought they deserved to win the game, but they did get troubled by Brentford. They really did. And you look at 26 shots, 4 big chances created for Chelsea. Brentford had 9 shots and 4 big chances created for Brentford. So the way Brentford attack, they use every attack they attack with such purpose, don't they, Brentford? And I'm so impressed with them. Yeah, really efficient team. So you're looking at Mbeumo, Wissa, even Damsgaard, I think, is a really good player. And I think they've got some top attacking talent, Brentford. They can't seem to buy a win away from home, though. So we always thought that Chelsea were going to win. And they did. I think they just about did enough to get over the line and win the game. But yeah, they got troubled by Brentford. And Brian Mbeumo, what a season he's having, man. Another goal for him, this time at Stamford Bridge. But it's like 2 different teams, isn't it? Like when they play at home, when they play away from home. They can't lose when they're at home, but when they're away, I think they've lost every game.
Yeah, pretty much. And look, I think they got their goal difference says it all. They've scored 32 goals and conceded 30, which is probably scored 32 at home and conceded 30 away. That's pretty much how it is. But yeah, Brentford, they gave it a good go. And if Carvalho scores that chance at 1-0, I think maybe they're more walking away with a point there. But didn't happen. Chelsea then get a second, and that changes the game. But look, Chelsea, 5 wins on the trot now, which is incredible form for them. Form team in the Premier League right now. And, with those attacking options they got, it's a scary thought. I just still look at them, and I'm still not sure about their defence. Their keeper, I'm not sure about, albeit he made a brilliant save from Norgard in this game. I'm still not sure about him. I still think their defence, is that a defence that's going to win you a title? I'm still not sure there as well. And I also think they're very heavily reliant on Caicedo in that middle. If he were to pick up an injury, then I don't think...
Yeah, but everyone's got that player that they're over-reliant on.
Yes, true. Yeah, but I think Caicedo, the reason why I say that is because I'm not sure about their defense, and I think he does a lot of covering for their defense. So if he was to be out, I think their defense would be exposed even more than they are at the moment. And I think at the moment, look, they're doing well. They're the defense. I think they're third best defense in the league. But I see them still conceding a lot of chances. And look. At the moment, as long as you got that attack right and you've got them all fit, I mean, you could probably outscore any team. They are the top goal scorers in the league with 37 goals, one ahead of Spurs. So, that attack is unbelievable. Will they go and win the league? I still think, for me, the jury's out. I'm not convinced that they're going to seriously challenge Liverpool just yet.
I'm hearing a lot. I'm hearing a lot of people say that.
From what I've seen from, for example, the performances for Liverpool against Newcastle and Fulham in recent weeks, even though they didn't win, would have Chelsea done that? If Chelsea went behind in Newcastle, would they have come back like that? When they were down to 10 men against Fulham, Liverpool, and they came back, would Chelsea have done that? I'm not convinced.
Yeah, look, you might be right, and there might be a case to that, but it's still not even halfway through the season, right? So there's so much football left to be played. Everyone's saying, oh, I don't think Chelsea are going to win it because of their defense. Arsenal, they don't think they're going to win it because of their attack. Man City are way too far behind. They've counted themselves out. So everyone's basically just calling Liverpool the champions elect already. And it's not even halfway through the season. I mean, I think it's a bit too soon to be calling statements and judgments like that. Chelsea are only 2 points behind. As much as Liverpool have been brilliant so far this season, so consistent, well, they're only 2 points above Chelsea at this moment in time, so anything can happen still.
Liverpool have a game in hand. But yeah, you're right. There is only 2 points. As long as there's only 2 points, there's a race. Look, I think, can Chelsea challenge them potentially? I look at the two teams and I still think Chelsea are lacking something. I don't think they're quite there yet when it comes to being as good as Liverpool from what I've seen, not just on the points tally.
Look, I tell you what, I don't, hand on heart, I don't believe Chelsea are going to win the league this season. However, I do think anything can happen from now to the end. But you're looking at Chelsea in the direction that they're going in. Maresca seems to be really getting his message across to the players. They seem to love him there. There seems to be a big family feel. In the summer, once they get a settled defence, once they bring in a few centre-backs and a goalkeeper, they are going to be a big problem, man. They really are.
Yeah, for sure. And at the moment...
Probably Sammy's there in the background, probably smiling at what I'm saying.
He's
loving
it. I think they're going to be a serious
I'm not happy
team.
About it, man.
And you know that they've no expense spared, as they say, when it comes to Chelsea. So yeah, brilliant win for them. They are in second place, 4 points ahead of Arsenal though, which we didn't even mention, which is quite interesting, considering he's only been in the job for 16 games. He's doing a great job at the moment, Maresca.
They're better than Arsenal though. They are. They're better than Arsenal.
They play better football, I think, at the moment. That's for sure. I can agree on that. All right, last but not lastly, second penultimate game is Spurs at St Mary's. It finished 5-0 to Tottenham. I predicted 2-1. You predicted 1-1. Did finish 5-0 in what was an absolute rout at the end of the day. We both predicted Tottenham to struggle a bit more in this game, but they were 3-0 up after 15 minutes, 4-0 up after 25, 5-0 up on 45. Couldn't have gone much better for Spurs, and saw Russell Martin lose his job as well at the end of this game, unfortunately for him. So Southampton are going to be looking for a new manager. But Tottenham needed this win after what's been some really poor form and some really difficult games coming up. They needed to just get 3 points on the board, and they absolutely did that.
Yeah, 100%. It was a much needed win for Spurs. But that first half performance from Southampton was a sackable offence, and he had to go after that. You can't be so open, particularly against a team like Tottenham, who you know are just going to come at you. Southampton, that was one of the worst displays I've seen against us in a long time. It really was. It was that bad. They were just opening up, parting like the Red Sea, and we were taking advantage of it. We really did. And look, Spurs were really good. But they let us play. They didn't make it difficult for us in any stretch of the imagination. And I was standing there in the away end, and I was like, I've never seen a more easy, comfortable win away from home in my lifetime, probably ever since following Spurs. So as much as Spurs were good on the day, Southampton were willing participants.
Yeah, took the lead inside the first minute, which really set the tone, I think, for the whole game from a Tottenham point of view. So good win for Spurs, and obviously puts them in 10th at the moment. And when it comes to Southampton, yeah, that's the end of Russell Martin, and then now leaves them 9 points behind in the race for relegation, race for safety, I should say. And who takes that job on? Because who wants to take on a job when you're 9 points away from safety? I mean, it's going to be an impossible job to try and keep them up at this point.
I know the man for the job.
Big Sam.
Exactly. There's no other one. There's no other man for the job.
Yeah, why not? He's got one last job in him, one last fight. Why not? He's probably the only one whose stock is low enough to take it, I would say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's got nothing else to lose at this point with Southampton. But again, you know, would that be a bit of an overcorrection to how Russell Martin plays? Probably. But yeah, maybe that's their best shot. Be interesting to see what they do. I reckon I got a feeling maybe they just appoint it internally and they just kind of see out the season. But if they're going to do that, you might as well stick with Russell Martin because he might be able to get you back up. So I don't know. Obviously,
I feel like Russell Martin is like a really poor man's Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah, because it's a relegation fight to Ange Postecoglou. He just kept sticking to his principles and did end up costing his job. Albeit there were some games they played well, but at the end of the day, when you're conceding the goals they were conceding, and they only scored 11 goals this season, I think they're the lowest scorers by quite a distance. That's probably the killer. Albeit obviously conceding 36 is not good either, but when you're playing the way they are, and you're only scoring 11 goals, that's a recipe for disaster, I think. And that's always going to come back to bite you. So, yeah, that's a point gain for me. So 8 points behind going into the final game, which was Bournemouth. It finished 1-1 between Bournemouth and West Ham. But I went for 1-1, so I get a 5-pointer on Monday night. Ben went for 2-1 to Bournemouth, so he gets nothing. I actually wasn't watching this game because I was in the cinema, but I saw the highlights, and Bournemouth definitely had chances in the first half, it seems. Seems that West Ham came back into it second half and got that penalty, which looked like a winner in the 87th minute. It was a real weekend for kind of two late goals. You know, it happened at Ipswich, happened at Forest, happened at Man United, and it happened in this game as well. Paquetá looking like he scored the winner for West Ham, but Bournemouth breaking West Ham hearts with an unbelievable free kick from Unal. What a strike that is from a good 30 yards. One of the free kicks of the season, I reckon you'll see. So brilliant. And look, I think West Ham will take the point, but in the circumstances, you're 1-0 up with 3 minutes in stoppage time, so you've got to be gutting.
Massively gutting for West Ham because I think they performed quite well in this game. Paquetá, when he scored, he ran straight over to the manager as well. So that may be a feeling of where the squad's at in terms of Lopetegui, because a lot of question marks have come to him, and their performances do seem to be getting a little bit better as things progress into the season. So maybe there is a bit of life in Lopetegui now. Bournemouth, I didn't think they were that good. I mean, they did create chances, but nowhere near as many as I would have expected. You know, you look at the game when they played Arsenal, when they played Man City, and when they played Arsenal. I mean, they were so aggressive, and they were, you know, definitely deserved to get points out that game. And yeah, maybe a draw was a fair result in this game, but I expected a lot more from Bournemouth from what they've shown at the Vitality this season. So I actually thought, as much as Fabianski made a number of saves in the game, I thought maybe a draw was probably a fair reflection of it.
Fair enough. I think Bournemouth would have been disappointed with the draw at the beginning of the game, but considering they're 1-0 down and about to lose, they'll probably take it at this point and leaves them in 6th place. Manning after that weekend, between 4th and 13th, there is 6 points. So it's absolutely couldn't be tighter in that Premier League. I think each result, you know, has the potential to have wild swings in your favour or against you. And I think it's going to be crazy if this continues until the latter stage of the season, which, you know, a lot of people predicting it might do. It's just so tight in that Premier League. But yeah, look, 5 points for me. So I cut the gap to 3 points, and then the star man.
What a joke as well. What a joke that you get 5 points in this game. Yeah, you get a penalty with 2 minutes to go and then a free kick in the last minute. How lucky can a man be?
Well, I got unlucky with Man United, so I think I earned my luck in this one.
Well, I got unlucky with Wolves. So
come on.
Where's my luck?
Win that. It's no luck for you, and no this lack of luck continuing with the Star Men, because Chris Wood having a goal ruled out from VAR, so he doesn't get on the score sheet. Enzo Fernandez assisting Chelsea's second goal for Nick Jackson, so he gets 2 points. So the gap is cut to 1 point at the end of this weekend. But that is all we have time for. We'll see you all back for the predictions for next weekend's fixtures. We'll see you all very, very soon. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.